Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving right into something really profound and honestly deeply misunderstood. We're talking about the unseen struggles that countless women face every single day, often having absolutely no idea why life just feels so incredibly overwhelming. We are going to unmask the invisible and explore the totally unique ways ADHD presents in women. Understanding this, well, it could literally change your life, or maybe the life of a friend, a partner, or a colleague. So let's kick things off with a bit of a mystery, shall we? Why in the world would a lifelong neurodevelopmental condition, something you're literally born with, stay completely hidden until a woman reaches adulthood? It's a huge question, and it's the very thing bringing so many women into clinics in their 20s, 30s, and even beyond, asking, could I have ADHD? To figure that out, we have to look at how we've historically identified this condition. Look at the numbers here. They set the stage perfectly. During childhood, ADHD is overwhelmingly diagnosed in boys. The ratio is an astounding 4-to-1. That means 80% of childhood diagnoses are male, and only 20% are female. Hearing that, you might just naturally assume, okay, I guess ADHD just doesn't affect girls very much. But that assumption, that is exactly where the medical field got it so wrong for decades. Fast forward to adulthood, though, and boom, a dramatic shift happens. Later in life, that diagnosis ratio suddenly approaches a 1-to-1 balance. 50% male, 50% female. This striking data shift proves something really important. Those girls didn't just suddenly catch ADHD in their 30s. They always had it. They were simply entirely missed as children. Section 1, the diagnosis challenge. Let's look at exactly why this is so incredibly complex. The core of the issue really comes down to how the condition looks on the outside. When most of us picture ADHD, we picture the traditional male presentation, right? Externalized behaviors. The boy who can't sit still in class, who's physically hyperactive, disruptive, maybe using a really loud voice. But the female presentation is vastly different. It is largely internalized. Instead of physical hyperactivity, girls often experience severe inattention and internal mood swings. And because they aren't causing a disruption in the classroom, they fly completely under the radar. But it's not just that their symptoms are quieter. This is actually driven by a phenomenon known as over-adaptation. This is basically the exhausting, nonstop process of a woman forcing herself to fit in. Imagine having to meticulously mask your natural tendencies every single day, just to meet the expectations of society, your teachers, and your peers. She tries so hard to be the good girl that she effectively hides her symptoms from everyone. And eventually, she hides them so well that it becomes almost impossible for even doctors to notice something's wrong. And to make things even murkier, inattention isn't exclusive to ADHD. Even when a woman's primary struggle is finally noticed, it gets misattributed all the time. Doctors might look at a woman struggling to focus and mistakenly chalk it up to autism spectrum disorder, borderline intelligence, depression, or adjustment disorders. All these overlapping conditions severely muddy the diagnostic waters, which just delays the correct ADHD diagnosis even further. Moving into Section 2, core behavioral signs, let's uncover these hidden characteristics. So what does this actually look like day to day? Well, the first primary trait is severe inattention. Step 1, missed deadlines at work. And to be clear, it's not about a lack of caring. It's a structural inability to manage the timeline. Step 2, a chronic inability to organize a living space, like keeping a bedroom or a desk tidy. And Step 3, relentlessly forgetting items. During childhood, parents usually just step in and pack their daughter's bag, which masks the symptom. But in adulthood, that forgetfulness becomes glaringly obvious. Then there's the second core trait, severe mood variability. Women with ADHD often have emotional systems that are highly sensitive to stress. Now, the crucial part here is how this gets misinterpreted. Because these mood swings can tie into hormonal cycles, they're incredibly often dismissed as just severe PMS. Or the rapid emotional shifts might actually be confused with bipolar mixed states. Meanwhile, the underlying ADHD engine that's actually driving these intense feelings remains completely ignored. Section 3, the social impact. Let's talk about how this affects relationship dynamics. This brings us to our third trait, and honestly, this one is super fascinating. A lot of women with ADHD actually have a really easy time starting relationships. Their high energy, their lack of hesitation, that drive for novelty, it means they can make friends or start romances pretty quickly. But maintaining them over time, that can be incredibly difficult. Underlying inattention and shifting impulses make it so hard to keep up with the daily maintenance a relationship actually needs, leading them to rapidly burn out and fade away. It's this really painful cycle of connecting and then disappearing. Now, what about impulsivity? Well, female impulsivity usually doesn't look like physical aggression or getting into fistfights. Instead, like we mentioned, it's internalized. This often manifests as sudden, compulsive shopping sprees, basically chasing dopamine. Or it looks like unstoppable talking during emotional conflicts. When a woman with ADHD gets upset, she might find herself completely unable to stop speaking, just pouring out words in a total flood of internalized hyperactivity. Section 4. The adulthood tipping point. The moment of reaching the absolute limit. Let's track how this builds over a lifetime. It's kind of like a ticking clock. In childhood, her parents cover up her forgetfulness. The environment is heavily structured for her. But then she reaches adulthood. Suddenly, strict workplace rules, complex multitasking, and the heavy demands of independent living are introduced. And finally, she hits the crisis point. Her childhood support systems vanish right at the exact moment the pressure maximizes. The over-adaptation just shatters, and those hidden symptoms become utterly unmanageable. This is the fourth trait, adult discovery through crisis. Which brings us to Section 5, secondary disorders and layering, the severe danger of compounding conditions. Because she internalized her struggle for so long, the eventual breakdown is internalized too. When a woman's prolonged struggle, repeated failures, and constant self-denial hit a breaking point, she develops secondary disorders. We're talking deep depression, chronic anxiety, eating disorders like binging or restricting, and sometimes even the development of personality disorders. At this stage, she isn't just dealing with ADHD anymore. She's dealing with the trauma of having untreated ADHD. Psychiatrists actually have a really powerful term for this whole dynamic. They call it layering syndrome. It's literally like putting on a heavy winter coat. Now add another one, and another. Layering syndrome is this dangerous accumulation of multiple secondary psychiatric disorders stacked right on top of that base layer of undiagnosed ADHD. By the time a woman in this situation finally gets help, she's wearing so many heavy coats of depression, anxiety, and eating disorders that it's practically impossible for a doctor to see, let alone treat, the core ADHD underneath it all. But hey, there is incredibly good news here. Early detection and diagnosis can totally stop this layering process in its tracks. Recognizing these 5 traits, the inattention, the mood swings, the relationship struggles, the adult tipping point, and the secondary disorders is absolutely crucial. If we can spot the ADHD early, we can relieve that unseen stress. We can stop a woman from ever having to put on all those heavy coats and give her the targeted support she actually needs from day one. I want to leave you with a question to really chew on. If a struggle is invisible, does it mean it isn't there? For decades, millions of women have been suffering in complete silence, over-adapting to a world that just didn't understand their invisible burden. By understanding how ADHD truly presents in women, we can entirely change how we view, validate, and support them. It is well past time we start seeing the invisible. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this sparked a whole new understanding for you.